Cakes, dates and extendable dogs. Here are 10 indie games to look out for in 2020. You'd think that by now indie developers would be fresh out of ideas, but look ahead to 2020 and you'll see a broad, invigorating selection of wild and wonderful titles. It promises to be the year of stretchable canines, catastrophic dates, and whatever the blue blazes is happening here. So this video then is a checklist of indie games to look out for over the coming months, a collection of titles that prove there's an indie game for everyone, no matter how feral or preposterous your tastes might be. Here are 10 great indies to look out for in 2020. If games like No Man's Sky fill you with dread because of the infinite hours you could spend on one planet, filling your pockets with feltrite and Fecium, Typhoon Studios has heard your pained cry. Journey to a Savage Planet is a space exploration game with a difference. It ends. But that's not the only good thing about being a small part in the 4th best space exploration company. This is an adventure with alien tongue placed firmly in cheek, full of humour and grinding up adorable creatures using bloodthirsty plants. The pace is perfect too. Wander, catalogue the flora and fauna, upgrade your gear and take in the sights and sounds of unique alien biomes. It's all in a day's brightly coloured work. We can't wait to see more when it lands on our planet on January the 20th next year. Just when you thought a physics-based dating simulator was only something you'd make in Game Dev Tycoon to zero critical acclaim, along comes an indie that somehow just works. Table Manners from Echo Chamber Games is exactly what happens when Surgeon Simulator tries to get romantic. And it's every bit as disastrous as that sounds. At least the patients in Surgeon Sim are unconscious and not staring at you furiously after you've almost poked their eye out with a rogue breadstick. Even the simple act of picking up a bottle of wine and pouring it into your exceptionally unimpressed date's glass requires the skill and dexterity of a 16-year-old Fortnite professional. And that's before you try and serve up sushi, salt chips, or blowtorch a creme brulee. So will I see you again? You'll call me? Oh, cool, great, okay, good, thanks. Bye. I could explain the in-depth nature of Cake Bash, the utter delights of trying to pick up as many sweets as possible with your tiny, sticky body in one of the many multiplayer modes, for instance. Or I could just tell you this chaotic party game might be one of the indie games of 2020, simply because it lets you play as baked goods with little angry faces. Just look at their little angry faces. While it looks sugary sweet on the surface, don't let that fool you into thinking that everyone skips happily across the screen. Get close to the end of any round, whether you're throwing fruit into a pie crust or picking up jelly beans, and the violence has to be seen to be believed. Expect this to be a Let's Play on our channel as soon as physically possible. French fancy about? Like the cake, the French fancy? Yes? Good? Cool, okay, let's move on. The big question in games in 2019 is, can you pet the dog? When it comes to Phogs though, it should be, can you stretch the dog? And the answer to that really quite strange question is well and truly yes. The adorable, conjoined, floppy-eared red and blue can be stretched, tied in knots, then eaten by a giant nidhogg to progress to another part of the level and do it all over again. While Phogs can be played one player as you split your brain down the middle for each canine, it's far better to play in co-op. Working together to light lamps, clamber across rings, and open doors is a genuine delight. Let's not ask why you can wear these adorable doggos like a scarf, and instead demand to play the full game as soon as possible. It turns out that we're very much Phog people. Co-op games always do a very good job of making banal tasks somehow fun to do with friends, and moving out is absolutely no different. This pick up all the stuff 'em up somehow manages to make the nightmare task of lifting furniture and boxes to a van a hilariously destructive joy. Multiplayer is essential here. Like Overcooked before it, lone wolfing a house of assorted bric-a-brac is impossible, as some items require 2 people to carry them. Plus, if lifting things and trying not to smash up entire houses at the same time isn't enough, oh, don't worry about that, governor, that'll buff out nicely. There are all kinds of hazards at work. Ghosts lurk in a haunted house that will put you in a box of your very own, roads of fast-moving traffic will get in the way, and sometimes you'll have to remove boxes from a moving aircraft. We had better get a good Trustpilot review for this.
furniture, arrangement and relocation technician.
Apparently good things come to those who wait, but we feel like we've been waiting eternally for the joys of Ooblets to arrive. Of course it's going to be worth it in the end, but farming, baking, dance battles with creatures named Bristlepud, Fleeble and Chickading-Ding. If you've somehow missed the Ooblets train so far and are the human equivalent of that upside down face emoji, please let me explain. Ooblets is a glorious combination of Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing and Pokemon, complete with creatures to train up and adventures to be had. You've got to build a house, make friends, pick clothes, and grow Ooblets from seeds. Let's just not try and think about the biology at work and instead focus on the dance battles with our strange yet beautiful mud-grown children. Yeah, 2020. There have been loads of lovely games on this list, haven't there? Farming and cakes and people being friends. Carrion is not like that. In fact, this side-scrolling devour-em-up, nestled as it is between two adorable titles, could be one of the most relentless, destructive games coming out next year. In it, you control an alien entity oozing through a biological facility, eviscerating scientists, and developing new abilities as you go. It's somewhere between playing as an umbrella bioweapon and the Thing from, well, you know, the Thing. And having played it, it's exactly as much disgusting, messy fun as all that sounds. If you're not convinced, there's even a sneak peek demo you can download and play now. We've popped the link in the description below. Carrion is the sort of game you can sit back and breathe in the wild panic you spread before you consume everyone like fresh meat in lab coats. Apparently it's the fear that makes them taste so good. On one hand, you think that more games should have a dedicated hug button. And then you realise it just wouldn't be as special when a game as glorious as Spiritfarer finally does come along. But this isn't just a floating cuddle sim. Spiritfarer is a building and farming game with a unique difference. Instead of the usual granddaughter or grandson starting off in the old farmstead, here you play as Stella, the ferrymaster for deceased spirits. Everything revolves around looking after your boat and its residents. You can add new buildings for new spirits, fish off the back for cooking purposes, and even playing co-op with a friend taking on the role of your cat, Daffodil. Heartbreakingly, this is about making wonderful friends, then losing them again as you help the spirits find their way. So yes, Spiritfara is beautiful if a little melancholy, but it promises to deliver so many fuzzy feelings. A bit like this hug. That's better. We've talked about Fall Guys before on this channel, but we're going to do it again right now because it's so much fun. As you can probably tell just by looking at it, it's essentially an indie version of Japanese game show Takeshi's Castle, starring 100 adorably squishy jelly beans. Each game is a process of elimination, whether it's racing through breakable walls to whittle down the numbers, or something more esoteric like a game of tag in which you have to steal tails from enemy jelly beans. Don't worry, it's not supposed to make sense. And best of all, this is a battle royale game, so every other luminous blob you defeat is a living, breathing, probably quite disappointed person. If you fancy playing something online with other people that doesn't involve building, sniping or dabbing, Fall Guys promises to be a left-field multiplayer classic, and the sort of game every single streamer on the planet will want to play. Bring up the subject of side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and it's likely everyone over 30 will wistfully, fondly remember Streets of Rage. And it's with good reason. A pounding soundtrack and vivid 90s characters made it a stone-cold classic. And Streets of Rage 4 is a bright, bruising update that takes everything you loved about the original and gives it a tantalising modern sheen. The animation is incredible right down to the flowing fabrics, and the setting reminds us why we used to love shuffling through dilapidated streets and throwing baddies through trash cans. But the most modern thing about Streets of Rage 4 is how much fun it is to play. Gone are the shaky mechanics of older side-scrollers, replaced with a sharp, reactive combat model that feels more like a proper fighting game. And thankfully, there's one thing that hasn't changed. The music has been composed by the team responsible for the original. To use the parlance of the time, wicked. So there you go, a selection of 10 wildly different indies you can look forward to playing in 2020, no matter what kind of games you love. Give this video a like if there's something on here you fancy, and remember to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you know when our next video lands.